Children Achievers Academy, a reference point to excellence. Today we are going to look into English language, and we are going to address a very important topic called letter writing. And when we talk about letter writing, you know that letter writing has three types: the informal letter, the semi-formal letter, and the formal letter. But today we are going to address a lot of issues in formal letter, F-O-R-M-A-L, formal letter. And before I continue, I want to make an introduction to that topic, formal letter. What is a formal letter? A formal letter is a letter that is written to people in the offices. It is different from informal letter, which is written to our family and our friends. But in a formal letter, we know that it is a letter that will write to people in the offices, people in authority, in higher ranking. Despite if the person is your mother or your father, whether the person is your relative, or because that person is in an office, because the person is in an authority, then that letter you are writing to such a one is called a formal letter. Formal because it is official. In other words, you can call a formal letter an official letter, or a business letter, or application letter. We are going to look at some reasons they are called official letter, business letter, or application letter. Just get connected, pick up your pen and your writing materials, and then follow me as we launch deeply into what we have today. Now we say that a formal letter is a letter we write to offices and business houses. You don't write it to any person because that office is an open office. Just for instance, you look at me here, I am in this office. Tomorrow you may come to this office, you will not see me. Another person can occupy this office. And that is true. So you are not addressing it to me, because when I am leaving the office, everything you have written, all the letters you have written to me will remain in this office. So that the next person that will come in will continue from where I stopped. If the letter that you have written to me was not addressed, then the next person that is coming into the office will go ahead and address it. Therefore, it is not written to me directly. Instead, it is written to my office. And if I leave the office, the other person that will assume this office will take care of the issues on that letter. As a result, a formal letter is an impersonal letter because it does not refer to any particular person but to an office. Because it is written to an office and it is impersonal, doesn't address to a particular person, then it does not contain personal greetings. For instance, how are you? How is your family? Because why are you not going to address it this way? When you ask somebody, how is your family? You don't know the situation in that person's family. Or let's take, for instance, you are asking somebody, how is your wife, in a formal letter. And the person that may assume the office tomorrow may not have married. It may be a single person, but due to opportunity, the person was able to attend that office, to assume that office. So when you begin to ask the person, how is your family? It is going to be somehow embarrassing to that person. So you don't have any personal greeting, any emotional greeting towards the person in that office. And every discussion does not include any personal affairs. Any discussion that will be in this formal letter It does not have anything to do with personal affairs. Now, we're going to look at the areas that formal letter covers. We want to look at the areas that formal letter can cover. Number one, the formal letter covers letter to offices and business houses. And when we come to letter to offices and business houses, we have a letter of complaint. Number one, letter of complaint. Something is going wrong in a particular establishment. Something is not going right in a particular business. And now you have to put up your displeasure in writing. That is a letter of complaint. It is written in the business houses or offices. Secondly, a formal letter also covers invitation notice. Yes, it is official. You want to invite a particular school to your own school for a competition. It is an invitation notice. You want to invite a company, let's say Indomie company or a Super Pack company, and you want to invite them for an exhibition in your school. Then you know that it is a letter of invitation. So I've told you the first one is a letter of complaint, the second one is a letter of invitation, and we have memos also. What is a memo? A memo is a short note that tells people about a shortcoming event. It is a memo. For instance, your school wants to embark on a short-term break, or let's say mid-term break. The memo has to be pasted. The school will bring up a memo stating the reason for the memo, and then stating the beginning of the something and the end of the something. So you see that this thing is written officially. It does not concern anybody in the house. It is not a letter written to somebody in the house to take care of, but it is written in an official way. It is also, another thing under this can be circulars. Yes, a meeting would hold by 2 p.m. tomorrow. A circular has to be passed across to all the people that are concerned. So it is official. It is not a personal matter. It is an official matter that has to be passed across to others. Advertisement. You want to advertise something, you have to pass it to an office. Let's take for instance, you want to open a website for somebody. You have to write a proposal and convince the person on why he should give you that job, give you that work, why the person should patronize you in that thing you are doing. And that is a letter of advertisement. The next is the letter that is written to an institution for admission. Yes, in some institutions, if you are seeking for admission in their school, you have to write a letter to them stating the reason you want them to admit you in their school, and stating what the school should do to you if you fail to play your own role in ensuring the peace, in ensuring the safety, in ensuring compliance to the rules and regulations governing the school. Now you have to put it in writing, and this is a letter written to an institution. For admission, a letter of permission. You are a staff of a particular institution, and tomorrow, for instance, you would not be in school, or let's say in the next 1 week you will not be in school. Then you have to put up a letter of permission stating that on so days, let's take for instance on Friday, 4th of March 2023, that you're not going to be in school, or you're not going to be present at work. And then you have to put it in writing as a permission. And the permission will be granted before you embark on that your absence. It could be a leave of absence, an application for leave of absence. You have a very important journey to embark on, and it is indispensable. You have to put up a letter to the authority that is above you, and then it will be approved before you embark on that journey. And then we have also the letter of making complaint. We have already said it before. And then another thing that formal letter can cover is letter you write to the editors of newspapers, magazines, and all the rest of them, that you want to put up a writing on the public interest. You want to write something, you want to address something, an issue, to the newspaper editor or magazine editor or journal editor, and then you have to put it up in writing and make it official, because the thing you want to write to them about is in the public interest. Therefore, it has to be official. Please, while we continue, do well to put down any question you have on the comment sections, and then it will be attended to. Now, the content of a formal letter must be less than 3 paragraphs. It must not be less than 3 paragraphs. Yes, if you are putting up a formal letter, it must be a minimum of 3 paragraphs and a maximum of 5 paragraphs. What does that mean? Whatever you want to put up in your writing, in all the statements you want to make, you have to summarize them in between 3 and 5 paragraphs. You can end it in 3 paragraphs, it's acceptable. You can end it with 4 paragraphs, it's acceptable. You can end it with 5 paragraphs, it is acceptable. But don't, because you want to bring up a voluminous information, possibly in, let's say in WAEC, you have been told to write not less than 450 words or not less than 400 words. And in your bid to make sure that you reach 450 words, you are writing more than 5 paragraphs. It is not acceptable. What you have to do is, in order to attain that number that has been required, you have to develop the paragraphs you have already provided. If it is 3 paragraphs, you make sure that the second paragraph, you develop it elaborately. Elaborate it, make it more detailed. Put up all the details you want to put up in the second paragraph, after stating the reason for your writing the letter. And then in the third paragraph, you continue and make your closing. If it should have 4 paragraphs rather, then you have to make sure that everything is summarized within 4 paragraphs. If it is more than 5 paragraphs, then the work will be too bulky for the reader to read. And when the reader is reading it, the person will get exhausted in reading your write-up, and it does not make any meaning. That is why in a formal letter, you must make sure that everything you are writing revolves within 3 to 5 paragraphs. Now we want to consider the features of a good formal letter. What are the features, the attributes of a good formal letter? There are different things that you can see, different things that people put up in their letter writing. There are a lot of things people put up in whatever they submit to offices. But what matters is that thing they are producing a good thing? Is the letter they are writing a good one? Then what makes that letter a good one? That is what brought us into looking into the features, the characteristics of a good formal letter. Number 1, it must have the writer's address. The writer's address located on the top right hand corner of the paper. You are writing with this paper, and if you look at this paper, you check the right hand corner of this paper, and then you go to the right hand corner of this paper and you endorse. You make your address there. Very neat. So it is located on the top right hand corner of your writing paper, and it is followed by date. When you are writing your dates, always avoid making the TH. If it is, let's take for instance, you are writing it in a cardinal way. For instance, you want to write 1st of March, and then you write 1 and then put ST and raise it to the power. If you put it that way, it is absolutely wrong. In most computer systems, if you put up something like that when you want to write first, most of the computer systems will shift it up for you, but that is not the right way. So a lot of people have been taking that method of writing 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. So in a formal letter, when you are writing the date, whether formal letter or any type of letter, if you are writing the date, be sure that the number, the day you are writing, you don't raise the letters to the power of that number. If you want to write 1st, make sure that the ST in that 1st is not raised. It must be in the same line, on the same line with the 1. If it is 3rd, that RD in front of 3, at the back of 3 rather, must not be raised to the power of that 3, because this is English language, not mathematics. It is only in mathematics you see letters or numbers raised to the power of any other value. But in English, it's not so. It must be on the same level ground with the other number. I hope you understood that. Don't make that mistake. If you make that mistake in WAEC or any external exams, you have to pay dearly for it by loss of marks. So I've told you that the first address there is the writer's address, located on the top right hand corner of your writing sheet, followed by date, immediately full stop. And when you are writing your address, make sure that the name of the institution is on one line, as indicated here. Then the location of that institution on another line. If that location has a local government, of course it should. The local government should be in another line. Or if you don't want to include the local government area of that location, if the location has a post office box or PMB, you have to include it on a separate line. If it is a PMB, that PMB has an address, a location where it is located. It should be on a separate line. Make sure all of them are in their individual lines until you have reached the highest point of the location, depending on where you are. Then you can now put full stop. You can do this in 2 ways. Each line you write, at the end of it, you indicate with a comma. Each line you write, you indicate with a comma until you reach the last address, which is the last location. You put your final full stop. If you don't want to make mistakes of where you should put your comma or where you should not put it, then you should write all the addresses, the name of the institution, the location of the institution, if the post office box is there, the post office box and all the rest of them, and then without putting comma. Don't put comma on the first line and forget it on the second line. It becomes a big mistake. So instead of making the mistake, it is better you don't put any comma, and then at the last address you put a final dot, full stop. But if you can remember that, Then every line you finish, put a comma. The second line, put a comma. Third line, put a comma. On the last one, you put a final full stop. Then you begin your date. Today's date is, for instance, 1st of March 2023. You write it 1 ST. 1 ST. The ST should not be raised to the power. Don't raise it up. Let it be on the same line with the 1. First, March. Then you put comma. The March should start with capital letter M. First March, comma, 2023. Full stop. It has ended. You are through with the address of the writer and the date. Now, on the next line, immediately below the date, but at the left-hand corner, immediately below the date, you are not supposed to leave any one-line gap before writing this one. Immediately below the date, you should write the recipient's address. The recipient's address. This is the number 2 feature of a good formal letter, which is the recipient's address, or you call it the receiver's address. Recipient is the person receiving the letter, and his address is at the left-hand corner of your page, immediately below the date. And this thing is written by pointing out the office of the person you are writing to. For instance, you are writing to the General Manager, First Bank of Nigeria, PLC, Owerri. You are writing to the First Bank Manager. Now, the office of that person, the address of this person should start with the manager, comma, First Bank of Nigeria, PLC, comma, Owerri, comma, Imo State, full stop. You have written the receiver's address. That's the office you want to send it to. And you have written it accordingly. If this letter gets to the hand of the cleaner, or let's say, if it gets to the hand of the clerical officer does not have anything to do with the letter. He has to send it because the letter was not addressed to him. So that's the reason you should include the office you are addressing this letter to. And I have given you a sample. Then after the receiver's address, you have to put up your salutation. Your salutation, and salutation is usually dear sir or sir. Dear sir or sir. And when you write it, you indicate a comma. The dear sir should start from the margin of your line. Yes, you don't need to give a paragraph before writing dear sir. It should start from the margin of your line, just like the address of the receiver is starting from the margin. So dear sir should start from the margin of your book, of your paper. And then you write dear sir, you indicate with a comma. Why would you put a comma? Saying dear sir means you have called somebody's attention. So you don't need to put full stop because you are not through with what you are doing. You are not through with the information you want to pass across to the person. So you have to indicate a comma because you have called somebody's attention and that person is looking up to you to continue in your statement. So you write your dear sir or sir. Use one, either dear sir, comma, or sir, comma. That is salutation. I have mentioned 3 things: writer's address, receiver's address, salutation. The next one is the heading or the title of the letter. Why are you writing this letter? If it is a letter that you want to look for a job, then you indicate it. When you are indicating if it is an application letter, you write, application for the post of, you indicate the office you are looking for. You indicate the reason you are writing that letter, and that is the title of that letter. You just call the person's attention by the salutation. The next thing, you tell him why you are calling him or her. And now that reason you are calling him or her should be on the title of that letter. It should be the title of the letter. Then after indicating the title of the letter, what is the next? It now starts telling the person, elaborating, starts expounding on that headline. Start expounding on that topic. That topic you have written, you start explaining it, you start expressing your idea about that topic. And that brings us to the next 10, which is content or body of the letter. Content of the letter or body of the letter. I hope you are jotting down some things, and then we are going to take some questions from the comment section. And the body of the letter usually has 2 to 3 major parts. 1, because it is a formal letter, it should start directly. Remember, I've told you, you don't need to start exchanging greetings with a person. Because you don't need to say good morning, because you don't know when the person will read the letter, whether it is in the afternoon or in the evening or in the morning. So there is no need for exchanging greetings with a person. So you go straight to the point, stating your reason for writing the letter. 1, you make reference. If you are writing to apply for a job, that means, how did you know that the institution or the organization needs a worker? How did you know? You have to refer that person in that office on how to where you got the information about their vacancy. That is the reference we are talking about. An example, you say, reference to your publication in the newspaper, and then you state the date of the publication, or on the radio you state the date of the broadcast. That is the reference. You are referring the person to what the person had already done, to tell that person in the office, that you did not just wake up and come to his office looking for a job. So that the person will know that you are there. Because you know that on a normalcy, you don't need to go to somebody's house without invitation. Now, when you are going to this person's office, the only way he has invited you is the broadcast he had made the previous days. The only way he has invited you could be the publication on the newspaper, which he has made previously. And so you have to refer him to that you are here because he invited you through the publication that has been made on the radio broadcast or on the newspaper. That is the reason you should put the reference. You can say sequel, or owing to the fact, or following the broadcast, following the reason, you state state the place you are drawing your invitation from, so that the person will know that you did not just come for a common sake. Then after that, you go straight to the body of the letter development. Development of the body of the letter. You start developing it. How are you going to develop it? Everything you have in mind to give to the person, to convince that person why he should patronize you, or why he should accept you, or why he should admit you. You have to put them down in the content development. And this is called the body of the letter. All these things are under the body of the letter. Now, when you must have expounded everything you want to tell the person in the body of the letter. The next thing now is the closing. The closing of that letter. How are you going to close? You close by saying, I look forward to receiving your kind response. Because you have tendered some information. You have submitted some report, something to the person. And now as you have submitted the person, you have to expect the person to respond. That person may not respond immediately in that office because it is official. So, as you drop your submission, then you have to go home. And as you are going home, you need to get a reply for what you have tabled. And so that's the reason you have to end it this way and say, I look forward to hearing your positive response. I look forward, if it is in the case of complaints, letter of complaints for instance, you say, I look forward to seeing your urgent action. All these are called complimentary closing. Then finally, you now end your letter with an official format of signatory. What is the official signatory format? Yours faithfully. Some people make the big mistake of saying yours, Y-O-U-R''S. That is absolutely wrong. There is no apostrophe. It is a possessive pronoun. Yours. Y-O-U-R-S. Yours faithfully. The Y of that yours should be capitalized, capital letter. Faithfully, comma, because you've not ended. Yours faithfully, comma, you put your signature, and then under the signature, you write your full name. Unlike the informal letter, where you write only the name that the person knows you with. This time around, you're not going to write only your first name, but you are going to write all your names because that person has to address you in full. It is official. If your name is Eze Michael Chinonye, you put it in full. Eze Michael Chinonye. Mind you, when you are putting down your name, your full name, then your surname must be written in capital letter throughout. Only your surname, to differentiate your surname from your other names. So that if the person wants to address you, the person will know the one that is your name. You know that in some clans, and some people, their name and their surname are almost the same. You don't know the one that is the surname, you don't know the one that is the person's name. So what you have to do, you have to separate the surname from the person's name by capitalizing the surname. Or, if you don't want to capitalize the surname, then you can write it, start the first letter of the surname. For instance, Eze. Start the surname with E, capital letter. Then Z-E will be small letters. You separate it with a comma before writing your own name. Eze, comma, Michael Chinonye. Eze, comma, Michael Chinonye. All of them, the initials must be capitalized. Eze will start with capital E. Michael will start with capital M. Chinonye will start with capital C. But the surname must be separated with a comma, since it was not written in capital letter throughout. Then, after the surname, you have to put after your full name, you have to end it with a full stop. Now, let us go to the first point, which is letter of complaint. let us take a brief survey of the letter of complaint. We say that a letter of complaint is a letter somebody writes to an authority to express his displeasure. Something happened that the person is not pleased with what happened. Now he has to write to an authority expressing his displeasure on a certain issue. That displeasure must be on a particular issue in that organization. And that is what is called a letter of complaint. And now, what are the things that make up a letter of complaint? 1. Opening paragraph. You have to, after writing the letter, I have told you the formats of a good formal letter. The features of a good formal letter, which is address. After the address, which is the writer's address and date, the receiver's address, and then the salutation. Now, you have to put in the heading, and the heading is complaints. Then you state the particular area, the particular issue that you are complaining about. For instance, complaints on poor transmission of network. Maybe you are writing to MTN company, or you are writing to Airtel, or you are writing to 9Mobile, and then their network is not transmitting properly, and you want to express your displeasure. So the title here is Complaints on the Poor Transmission of Network in My Area. Yes, you have taken note of the title. Then after the title, you have to start with what is called opening paragraph. And in a letter of complaint, opening paragraph always goes this way. It always tells the person you are writing to that you are not happy. Therefore, it goes this way. Look at the two formats. 1. I regret to inform you. That regret tells the person you are not happy. I regret to inform you. If you cannot use this one to start, you can start with, I feel very sad to write to you, or I feel very sad to inform you. Then you state your displeasure. That is number 1 content, or number 1 makeup of a letter of complaint. Secondly, another thing you should note is the closing paragraph. You don't just close it anyhow. How do you close it? You close it this way. I look forward to hearing your response. I look forward to hearing your quick. It is a complaint, so it should be quickly responded to. So I look forward to hearing, or to seeing, or to knowing your quick response. Or use this way, I expect an urgent action from you. I expect an urgent action from you. These are the possible ways that you can close your letter of complaint. Then another thing you should note in a letter of complaint is the language tone. The tone must not be polite, and the tone must not be rude. You must not be harsh or rude. How? Why? If you become too polite by using some words like should means supposition. You are suggesting what the person should do. It's supposition, should and would. And now it is too polite that the person you are writing to will not take you seriously. He may think you are not serious about what you are writing. So that is the reason you should not make it too polite. For you not to make it too polite, what are you going to do? Use some words like shall and will. I shall be looking forward. I shall be expecting. Or I will. So you make use of will or shall in expressing your displeasure. Don't use would or should, because would and should are too polite that the person will begin to think you are not serious and the person will not take immediate action. And you should not be rude or harsh, because if you are, then the person may take offense in what you are writing. The person may get offended in what you are writing and then will not act accordingly. So you have to balance the two things. Express your mind, but you must not be rude and you must not be too polite, so that the person will not think you are joking, that you are not displeased and then you are writing. Then your topic must determine your content. For instance, they give you a topic like, write a letter to First Bank of Nigeria, to the manager of First Bank of Nigeria PLC, stating your displeasure on the services of the customer care on a particular date. Then everything you are going to write must revolve within this topic. You don't leave writing about the displeasure you encountered at the customer care service, and then you are beginning to state your displeasure on the counter, at the counter during withdrawal of money. It must revolve within the topic that was given to you. Take note of that. Now, let us go to, you go on the screen there, you will be seeing we're going to take a sample outline for a good complaint letter or letter of complaint. Number one, you have to indicate your address. The address of the writer, which is on the top right hand corner, followed by the date. And the address of the recipient or the receiver, which is at the left hand corner below the date and starting from the margin. And then when you have done that, you put up your salutation. And when you have put up your salutation, let's take for instance the address of the writer. Busy Brain Achievers Academy, comma, that is the name of the institution you are writing from, or your own address. And this Busy Brain Achievers Academy is in a particular area. Let's take for instance Umuagwo in Ohajiegbe local government area, Imo State. It's a Busy Brain Achievers Academy, and each of the words must be capitalized, all the initials capitalized. Then, comma, Umuagwo, comma, Ohaji/Egbema local government area. Now, the only acronym, remember in a formal letter, you must avoid using acronyms, short words. But the only acronym that is allowed is acronyms like LGA, local government area. So you are allowed to use it. Ohaji/Egbema, LGA, comma. And this LGA, you must separate them with dots. L dot, G dot, A dot, comma. Ohaji/Egbema, local government area, comma. Imo State, full stop. Imo State, full stop. 1st of March is not acceptable. Off should not be there. 1st March, comma, March should start with capital M. 1st March, comma, 2023, full stop. Now I come to the address of the receiver. The bank manager, or you say the manager, comma, they should start with capital T, manager, capital M. The manager, comma, First Bank of Nigeria PLC, comma, each of them the words capitalized. Owerri, comma, Imo State, full stop. Dear sir, comma. Then complaints on the poor customer care service in your bank. complaints about the customer care service in your bank. That is the letter, that is the heading. And this heading, if you write it in capital letter throughout, you must not underline it. But if you wrote it with small letter, but the first letter is in capital letter, then you have to put an underline. You have to underline it. But if everything is written in capital letter, you must not underline it. Now you have taken the title of the letter. Then the next thing is, like I told you, you have to state your displeasure with the acceptable expression of your feeling, which is, I regret to inform you of the poor services of the customer care service in your establishment or in your bank. You have started. That is the opening paragraph. Now, when you have opened it this way, you start elaborating it. You start in details. Mention the areas of your displeasure. How did the customer care service displease you? How did they render a service that is not satisfactory? You mention all of them one after the other. Point them out. Now, when you would have pointed them out, I've told you the address, I've told you the heading, I've told you the expression with the letter of complaint. And then you state the areas of your complaint. I have told you where are you displeased about the services of the customer care. Now, those things the customer care agents did, what effect has it resulted in your work or to you? What are the damages it has caused you? You tell us, as a result of so thing, you came to the bank, they could not attend to you, you were able to miss your appointment with so person, with so establishment. Because that thing you needed from them was very urgent. And as a result of their incompetence in attending to you, you missed your appointment with a particular organization. That is the damage. You have to state it. Because it is because of this damage that you are displeased and you are now writing a complaint letter to the First Bank of Nigeria. Then after bringing up the details of the complaint, the next thing is conclude with the acceptable concluding paragraph. And how do you conclude? I look forward to your urgent action. I look forward to your urgent action. You want to know what they will do as regards that complaint, as regards the incompetence of the customer care. You want to hear from them. So that is why you have to conclude in a right way. You don't need to be violent. You don't need to threaten them. That you don't need to tell them you are going to deal with them. You don't need to tell them you are going to cause havoc to their ATM machines. You don't need to tell them you are going to cause a lot of havoc in their establishment. If you do that, they will sue you for threats. And the security agencies may be called to restrict your movement, to restrain your movement in form of arrest. So you have to use the correct and acceptable format of closing, which is, I look forward to hearing your urgent action on the customer care agencies. Now, these are the areas, the different ways, the outlines that you can follow to write a good letter of complaint. Then finally, you end the format with a format of a formal letter. You end the letter with a format, the closing format of a formal letter, which is yours faithfully. That means despite all the displeasures, you are still theirs faithfully. You are still willing to partner with them. That is why you have to, that yours faithfully gives them assurance that even though you are displeased, you are still committed to working with them. So it must end with yours faithfully, comma. The Y I have told you should start with capital letter. That S should not come after any apostrophe. It is yours, yours, faithfully, comma. Then you authenticate the letter by endorsing, by appending your signature. And after appending your signature, you put down your name under the signature. You put down your name under the signature, and your letter is completed. This is the end of today's lesson. Meet me on the comment section for any question that needs to be attended to. Don't forget to click on the like button. Don't forget to subscribe so that any video we get will reach out to you. Don't forget to click on the notification button too. And then every video we are sharing must reach to you. Remember, once again, this is Busy Brain Achievers Academy, a reference point to excellence. Before I sign off, I want to remind you the things we have talked about. We have talked about the definition of a letter, a formal letter, which is a letter written to offices or business houses. We've talked about the things that the different letters that can be called formal letter. We talked about the letter written to offices, and the letters written to offices are letter of complaints, like we have just explained. The letter of applying for job, the letter of making request, the letter of placing order for items. The next one is the letter of invitation after the letter written to offices. Another form of formal letter is invitation letter, advertisement, memos, circulars for a meeting. Another form of formal letter is letter to institution for admission, permission, or making complaints, even by students. Another form of a formal letter is letter to editors of newspaper or journals or magazines concerning a topic that is in the interest of the public. We have talked about the contents, that the content of the formal letter must not be below 3 paragraphs, and it must not exceed 5 paragraphs. We have talked about the features of the formal letter, and then we have expounded them one after the other. And finally, we have taken a sample outline for a letter of complaints. Click or meet us, call us, or WhatsApp us, or chat with us with the phone number that is showing on the screen, so that we can send you the comprehensive notes for this lecture. Thank you, and God bless you. Don't forget to refer your friends for this wonderful tutorial.